Blowing orange, everything, blowing orange, everything. Blowing orange, everything, blowing orange.
All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Saturday evening. Another edition of KnicksFanTV's Court Vision, where we break down the X's and O's and the latest trends surrounding the orange and blue CP the franchise. Our analyst extraordinaire, Bailey Lau, on the ones and twos. On today's show, we're going to tap into those hidden adjustments that the Knicks made to take Game 3 and ultimately take over this series with a 2-1 lead. And we're going to get into it, man. So like, share, and subscribe. This is going to be another great edition of KFTV's Court Vision. So let's get right into it, man. All right, Billy, how we doing, man? Happy Saturday, man.
Good. Happy Saturday to you as well.
Yeah, likewise, man. 2-1 series so far. What's been your overall thoughts on the series?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think after game 2, a little nervous. Just the style of play, what that kind of looked like. Game 3 kind of just resolved all of that for me.
Yeah.
So feel pretty good heading into game 4.
No doubt, man. All right, so without further ado, let's tap into what these Knicks did a little bit differently, man, headed into Game 3. Take it away.
Yeah, let's start on the defensive side of the ball first. And I'm actually going to start at game 1. So I just want to start with how the Knicks defended Cade, specifically on this pick and roll when they're bringing Cat into the action. So the first thing is they're putting OG on Cade, which is something that I wanted. I think this is the right decision. The way that they play this is OG weaks the screen. And what that means is OG really shades Cade to his left hand, as you can see by his body angle, right? So sending him to his weak hand, his left hand weakening the screen. And what that really allows for is it allows for Cat to not really have to decide which side he's going to stay on, right? So if you remember when we were breaking down that Celtics film, and then Cornet and Keita, they were really good at like flipping the angle of the screen at the last second. And you kind of see Cat like flip-flopping which side he's coming up on, then his body's all turned around. Because they're playing Cade like this, Cat doesn't really have to make that decision, right? And Stewart and Durant aren't flipping the screen as much, but still, you can always tell Cat, hey, just come up on Cade's left side, right? And that's really important because the second part about this is the Knicks are just trapping Cade every time he has this pick and roll, right? So as you watch this play develop, OG forces Cade to his left hand, also which side the screen is set on, and then they're just going to trap Cade here. With the trap, you see Cat come up, OG's there, forcing the ball out of Cade's hands. And this was really effective game 1, right? We saw Cade have a bad shooting game, and just tough shots every single time. So in game 2, the Pistons started adjusting a little bit by moving away from bringing Cat into the action. So instead of the 1-5 pick and roll, they ended up attacking Brunson a lot more. Yep, attacking the guard switch, right? So the way the Knicks defend this typically is Brunson kind of shows out, and then you want to just make Cade take an extra dribble. Once Brunson shows out, you're expecting OG to recover and get through the screen and then come back on Cade. I think, to me, there was less effort, or I don't want to say effort, but like less energy and like aggressiveness by OG in game 2, just coming off these screens, right? Like as you see Tim Hardaway Jr. set this, Cade's going to come off cleanly, and OG's pretty detached from Cade, right? Much like he recovers really well here, but I think there was just, at least to me in my eyes, there was less aggressiveness in the way he was defending at the point of the screen, which, to OG's credit and to Brunson's credit, both looked a lot more locked in game 3. So now this is game 3, and the Knicks made one small adjustment here. When this screen was set by the guard, Brunson's job is the same. His job is to make Cade take an extra dribble. But OG, every single time the screen is set, goes under the screen. And the reason this adjustment makes sense is Cade isn't the best pull-up three-point shooter.
Not a good three-point shooter, right.
And it's something the Knicks are willing to make a concession on, also because OG is really good at recovering. But what this does is it eliminates any decision-making from OG's perspective. Like, you don't have to read where you should be going. You don't have to read whether, like, this is a good screen, this is a not good screen, whether Brunson recovers or he doesn't recover. You just go under every single time. So look at OG shed it. Brunson gets back. It's just a little quicker. I think the aggressiveness, the requisite aggressiveness was there, but also the small change in how they go under the screen makes OG's life a little easier, right? Same thing here. You're going to see OG go under. This is the shot that you're conceding. Like if you're the Knicks, you're conceding the shot, which I think is right. We'll see in game 4. I actually expect I expect K to shoot this game 4 more and more, but I think for now this is right. So the other thing to note here is look at Josh Hart. This is awesome. Like this is exactly how good defensive teams play us, right? Like they put the player guarding Hart in like preloaded help, and that's exactly what Hart is doing here. Asar is basically completely wide open. Hart's there waiting for the drive. As Cade comes over, Hart's there to help. Double. Once OG recovers, Hart goes back, and Cade makes it. But that's like perfect defense, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was like really, really cool to see, just the adjustment of how the Knicks were playing the pick and roll, how the Pistons adjusted to that, and then how the Knicks also kind of adjusted to that in game 3. And I'm excited to see like what the Pistons will do come game 4.
Yeah, so a couple things that we saw there that was very interesting. Number one, especially in game 1 with Karl Anthony Towns, number one, he's not in the drop or as much.
Yep.
He's more on the level, and as you said, it was very noticeable in terms of how OG did shade Cade to his offhand. Number one, that slows him down just a little bit. I mean, obviously these guys are pros; they're mostly ambidextrous, but you know when you go to your weak hand, it's going to slow him down in terms of getting into a rhythm. And then, like we pointed out on the first episode of Court Vision, where the Celtics had Towns in all kind of twists with their screens. Because, number one, his hips don't turn as fast. And number two, you had guys like Cornette kind of disguising the side that he was going to screen on. So now you have to kind of stop and process a little bit. Then they put the 2 on the ball, which, hey, if he gets it out of his hands and he gets it to, Beasley, Timmy, that's something that the Knicks have been conceding the entire series. So, I guess it is a little bit better than having Cade cook. But what I also did notice in the second game, like you just showed there with the guard screens, is that, Cade was he was going downhill very fast. He was exploding off of those screens and not really allowing the Knicks to kind of dictate terms there by trying to slow him down, whether it's in the trap or it was with Brunson on the hedge action. He was just going and going downhill. So I think we can expect to see that a lot more, especially in game 4, when he's going to be a bit more aggressive. It's kind of a never, not a do or die, but you don't want to go down 3-1. So I kind of expect that Cade adjustment. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. But I think that's why the Knicks decided to go under these. Because they saw Cade come off those screens really aggressively and be able to get downhill. So now you're choosing, what do you want to concede? Okay, we don't want to concede that anymore. Let's see if they're willing to take that 3. And I mean, Cade's a phenomenal player, right? I expect him to take that. He's been much improved on the pull up. So it's a shot that I'm expecting to see in game 4, and we'll see how it goes.
And then, as you mentioned, with Josh Hart now, which is very funny because he becomes the free safety on that Knicks defense, just like other teams are doing to him. And that almost makes Asar Thompson, look, for everything that he's giving you defensively in his efforts against Brunson, he becomes very limited in his minutes when it becomes a 5-on-4 situation when the Pistons are on offense.
Yeah, right. It's the same equation that the Knicks have, and it's not like Hart's the defender that Asar is, but in terms of pushing the pace in transition, all the other things that Hart brings to the table, it's hard to see that when on the offensive side, the other team is just not guarding you, right? And that's what Hart's doing to Asar. I completely think that's the right decision, but it's nice to see that play out as well.
There you go, man. All right, what do we got next?
Cool. So the next thing I want to talk about on the defensive side of the ball is just in terms of lineup, the double big lineup. We saw it a lot in game 1, right? And we saw it a lot in game 1 because Hart got into foul trouble early. And then we didn't see it as much in game 2, but you kind of saw it brought back in game 3 without Hart foul trouble. So that was really cool to see as well, that you weren't forced to play this lineup, but this lineup saw minutes as well. So I kind of just want to break down the defensive side of the ball when this lineup happens. The first thing to notice is, if you're going to be the Pistons and you're bringing the center into this pick and roll, you're bringing 2 all defensive level talents into this pick and roll, right? And this is just not a good decision to make. And this just stops the 1-5 pick and roll immediately, right? So OG here, he's not even getting over the screen super well. And it's also fine, right? Because Mitch, you trust guarding Cade 1-on-1 for stretches. You trust him in drop. You trust him at the level. And whatever coverage you want, you kind of trust Mitch in the situation, right? So you see OG's not really through the screen. It's fine. Mitch is there. Mitch contests. Great defensive possession.
Great possession.
Right. So teams are going to move away from the one, or Pistons are going to move away from the 1-5 pick and roll, which makes sense. You don't want to attach Mitch and OG. I want to show one more example of the center pick and roll, though. So here's Paul Reed saying the screen. This is a Knicks game plan, right? Trap, same thing as with Cat. So they trap Cade. Now, this is kind of what you were talking about with Cat not being in drop. Cat's honestly not a terrible defender. He's just a really bad drop defender. Like, he's just not good in the pick and roll and drop coverage. But even in rotations, right, when he's the low man, when he's the one that's supposed to help out, he executes this pretty perfectly, right? So you're going to see Paul Reed roll. When Cade has 2 on the ball, the roll is probably open unless someone steps up. You're going to watch Cat step up perfectly, stop this roll here until the ball gets swung. Once Cat sees the ball passed out, he has to recover, right?
Yeah.
And then executes this recovery perfectly. So as long as he's not the responsibility, as long as he doesn't have to be the one protecting rim, protecting drop, it's pretty okay, right? So you're going to see the same thing here. They're now going away from Mitch. Let's bring Cat into the action. Tobias sets the screen. They don't even have to play this perfectly, right? Like, I think you can switch this because you can have Cat guard on the perimeter decently well. But even if Cat gets beat, right, you have an all defensive talent and protecting the rim. If you don't want to switch and you want to ask Mikal to get over this, totally fine as well. If Mikal gets beat, again, you still have a rim protector behind you, right? So it kind of like protects every coverage you want to have, even if teams want to bring Cat into the action, right? That's exactly what you're going to see here. You're going to see this guard screen, ghost screen, and then Mitch is right there, right? So it just gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of honestly, in terms of making mistakes. It gives you a lot of flexibility that your coverage might not be perfect, but that's fine because you have backline defense, and then as long as you rotate around it after the fact, you're probably okay, right? So it was nice to see the lineup. I'm excited to see a little bit more of the lineup. I know I just saw the news of Mitch might have an illness or something, but yeah.
Yeah, it's
Do you know
tough,
if he's
man.
out? I don't
know,
think he's
man. Hopefully he wasn't messing with that Detroit pizza last night. You know what I'm saying? That those 2 days off on the road, it gets a little suspect. Hopefully the team is taking care of them with some nice, culinary cuisine there. But yeah, if he was out there in the Detroit streets, might be a little bad news tomorrow 1:00 game. Hopefully he's okay there. But yeah, like you said, man, we saw some really good things with the double big lineups. You saw Cat executing one of those plays there. He's tagging Paul Reed, and then he's ready to rotate back out to Tobias Harris. But also, like, throughout this series, he's had some good off-ball moments. Even in this Game 3 when Detroit was threatening there in the fourth quarter, man. Had a nice, full vertical up on a Cade drive that stalled out. So, definitely good defensive intensity and awareness by Cat in these games. What did you make when Tibbs said after Game 2, when he had a little bit less Mitch and the Knicks, clearly they lost in the rebounding battle, 48-34. They lost by 14. And Tibbs was saying he liked the lineup, but it leaves them vulnerable to other things. What do you think he was referring to in terms of the vulnerability with those two?
I'm not really sure what the vulnerability is, because to me, this lineup just makes a lot more sense if you need... It just makes a lot more sense to me versus like the Hart lineup.
Yeah.
I understand what Hart brings to the table and what that means in terms of like pushing the pace and transition opportunities. But especially if you're going to play an offensive style, which is like let Brunson operate and create his opportunities, then I'd rather like a traditional center defending the back line and not giving up anything on the defensive side of the ball, right? Because honestly, I think this is a good defensive line. Like Cat to me is not a negative defender when he's not in drop. It's only when you have to put him in pick and rolls constantly that he becomes a really negative defender. But in terms of just like rotating and like what's your responsibility as a tag defender, I think he's fine, especially with like a great defensive center in Mitch guarding the back line.
Yeah, great points there. So to everybody in the chat once again, hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. CP the Franchise. We got our guy Bailey Lau in the building talking about the key adjustments the Knicks have been making throughout this series to take a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 is Sunday at 1 o'clock. Everybody in the tri-state area, meet us at the Ainsworth, 45 East 33rd Street, 12 o'clock for a little brunch and basketball. We will have drink specials. You have a good food selection, and it'll be a nice day, a nice matinee day for Game 4. So make sure you guys pull up at the Ainsworth, and you can get your tickets at KFTVwatch.com. All of our franchise channel members, we see you in there. Kyle Dason checking in from Phoenix. Will Latimer down in the ATL. Stephen Gomez in Miami. Shout out to you guys. Jamaica Queens 22. We see you guys, man. All right, Bailey, what do we got next?
Yep, let's move on to the offensive side of the ball now. So the first thing I want to talk about is just in Game 2 now. This is obviously where I think we struggled the most. You saw Brunson bring the ball up a lot. You saw Brunson get into his ISO bag a lot. And the reason it's difficult is the Pistons play Brunson pretty similar to how the Knicks play Kate, right? Brunson's going to see 2 every time you try to bring Durant in the play. And this is just what the Knicks are accustomed to doing, especially when the center's on Hart, is to bring Hart into play, bring the center into play, right? So just one possession from Game 2, you see Durant come stop this, right? They don't want Brunson going anywhere. Brunson resets, calls for the screen again. One other thing to notice here is just look at the shot clock. A lot of these possessions, you're initiating the possession with 15 seconds, 14 seconds left on the shot clock. You're running your first action. Just not really conducive to a lot of good offense. And then as you see this play develop again, they're just going to send 2 to the ball, right? Again, it's literally what we do to Kate. Right? It makes it really difficult to attack. Now, in Game 3, one thing I just want to talk about is doing exactly what the Pistons did. You want to just bring the guard into the play instead of the center so that you don't get trapped, you don't get blitzed. Now, in Game 2, the Knicks did this as well. And one of the things that I wanted to see less of is once Brunson gets this switch, he likes to kind of like bring it back out and then reset so that he has an isolation. And just to be clear on this point as well, I don't have anything against the Brunson isolation.
Yeah, right.
He's good. He's good in isolation. It's more so when the isolation is the only thing that's happening every possession, then it becomes a little static.
Yes.
Right? Like if you have the isolation as like a tool in your tool bag, then that's like an incredible weapon to have to attack, right?
Sure.
So one of the things I wanted to see more of is attacking this switch because you know they're going to switch this. They're not going to trap this. They're going to switch this. Just attacking it fast. You don't have to pull out. You don't have to reset. I know on this possession it's low shot clock, so he attacks right away. But I think this is like how you can attack isolation. This is how you can attack switches more and more of your Brunson and get a little bit easier opportunities, right? Now, let's talk about a little bit of just like the variety and different offensive things that the Knicks ran in Game 3 that you didn't really see in Game 2. And we've harped about this a lot on the show with just Mikal and like running plays through Mikal. So I just want to talk through a couple things. Let's look at Mikal in the pick and roll first with Cat, and specifically when Tobias is guarding Cat, right? Because this is the main defensive coverage we see. Now, when Tobias is guarding Cat and you're putting Tim Hardaway Jr. in the action, the first thing is Tim Hardaway Jr. isn't the greatest defender. Right? So you got to bring a weaker defender into the action. The second thing is this isn't really game plan by the Pistons because for Tobias, there's really no decision here. The decision is to stick with Cat because Cat is a greater offensive threat. Cat has a bigger gravity. Tobias doesn't want to leave Cat here. So almost certainly you're going to get this advantage of your Mikal, which is exactly what happens, right? So look at Tobias is so hesitant to leave Cat here. You're going to get this a lot as long as the pick is set well. And then here, the other thing to notice is Brunson is one of the players who is off ball now. Remember, we talked about this when we were talking about I think it was the Portland game with the offense without Brunson. When Brunson comes back and Brunson plays off ball and someone else generates the advantage, there's just so much space for him, right? He demands so much gravity. He's attacking closeout now. It makes his life a lot easier. Here you see Mikal get the paint touch. He draws 2, looks off Brunson, and then there's a wide open dunk for Hart, right? And Mikal's fine playmaking. Mikal's good at shooting that mid-range as well, right? So it's just a lot of advantages running it through Mikal. And another advantage is if the center's on Cat, they might not trap you. So they've trapped Mikal in this coverage as well, but it's not an auto trap. It's not like Brunson, they're auto sending 2 every time, right? So if they do send 2, then again, Brunson's one of the players that's playing off ball who has a 4-on-3 advantage. That's so much space for Brunson versus what he typically sees. So if they're going to send 2 to Mikal, if you're running this play, that's amazing. Like, send 2 to Mikal, get it out quick, give it to Brunson, let Brunson create, right? Or the other thing is maybe they don't send 2, they play drop like you're seeing here. And this is where Mikal is awesome, right? Because Mikal is awesome in this like mid-range area. We saw him go off against his coverage against Portland. We saw him do it against the Spurs as well earlier on in the season, right? He's comfortable in these situations. So I'm excited to see the ball in his hands more running these sets. The Pistons are just not going to cover it as aggressively as they cover Brunson, which gives him a lot of room to operate and create plays for others. And then same thing with OG, right? As long as someone else is creating this advantage, this is something the Knicks have kind of gone away from in the later half of the season, is in transition, OG post up, throw him the ball, let him operate. Right?
Yeah.
So here you see it, gets the ball deep in post. He's the one that creates advantage, right? Draws 2, paint touch. Look at who's on the perimeter right now. Josh Hart's cutting, Brunson, and then catch trailing. You have 2 ridiculous offensive weapons that's going to be playing 4-on-3 basketball, right? So here, kick out to Cat. Cat gets the ball first. This might be a longer pause. So Cat gets the ball. Schroeder has to close out hard, right? Then one pass to Brunson. Cade has to close out hard because these are 2 great offensive players. It just makes life really, really easy when they're not the ones creating the advantage, right? Mikal, OG, as long as these guys are creating advantages, which they're more than capable of creating, right? And you saw it a lot more in game 3, then that's where you get really, really open shots, just like this one for Mikal. Right, so that was really cool for me to see.
Yeah.
I fully expect that a lot more going to game 4 as well.
Yeah, likewise, man. And you just see, especially in those sequences early in that first half, the Knicks offense at its best. And you still had a game where Brunson and Towns combined for 61 points. And so it was a great adjustment by JB that I expected him to make from 2 to 3, as he said, getting off the ball. And in a lot of those sequences that you show, we saw a lot of good things. Number one, the paint touches. Paint touches were key. You're playing a scrappy, athletic defense. You got to make them scramble. If you're just going to be sitting there in ISO, one-on-one, only one guy's moving, or to 2 guys that are guarding Brunson. Everybody else is standing still, waiting to get the rebound if they force a tough shot. So we had some good things with these guys getting downhill, playing faster, and forcing the defense to commit to something. And then you're finding guys all wide open all over the place. The Mikal actions, they should be eating off of those every single time. Yes, the Pistons are a good team defense. Yes, Asar Thompson and Beef Stew when he's there for the rim protection. But Tim Hardaway Jr., I mean, they should be eating off of that every single time. And the thing with Mikal that I like is, especially when they have him getting downhill, like these are some of the like those high pick and rolls or some of the screen actions that they used to run for RJ. Even though for RJ it was to attack the rim, he didn't really have a mid-range game. With Mikal, hey, get into your mid-range bag. It's just as potent. It's just as efficient. And then, you know, you had him had a great game, and I thought that also fed into his defense against Cade as well. And then on the OG side, just as you said, especially early in the year, a lot of times in transition, they would find those cross matches, get him to seal the smaller guard, and just go to work in the post. But in this example, he still had Timmy on him. Wasn't necessarily in the post, but he grabbed it there and then went to the basket and then was able to kick it out. And the Knicks ended up getting a wide open shot to Mikal Bridges. That was great offense right there.
Yeah, and the beauty of this team, right, is like you don't actually have to mismatch hunt because every single player can attack. Like OG's good, Mikal's good, Brunson's good, Cat's good. You don't have to like get Tim Hardaway Jr. onto Brunson. Like let Mikal go at him. Like let OG go at him, and you can just attack that way.
100%.
Cool. So the last thing I want to talk about is Cat. This is obviously the biggest change to me. Getting him involved and not letting the Pistons dictate the mismatch. So here, this is just a play with Durant on Cat. Tobias got in a little bit of foul trouble. You saw the center on Cat a little bit more here, just as their scheme. But this was a play run for Cat that I haven't seen in a while, that I haven't seen the Knicks run for a while, which is just this kind of like baseline stagger, which is just a double screen for Cat to come across. and establish position in a really, really low, deep position, right? So Mikhail actually set the first screen here. Cat's coming off Mikhail's screen. Durant goes over Mikhail's screen, so you see OG adjust to catch Durant. And then you see Cat just set up shot, right? So here, let me run the play. And look at this position Cat gets. That's like the deepest he's caught it in a while, right? You typically see like Cat kind of just walk down the court, try to like muscle his way into the paint.
Right.
A lot of times he'll just catch it a little further out than you want. But run a play to get him a deep touch. And do this when Tobias is on him. It doesn't even need to be Durant on him, right? It's arguably easier with Tobias on him to get him this position. So I love seeing this. I want to see more of it, just getting Cat touches in the post like this, and a little bit deeper in the post.
Deeper
right?
in the post.
It's really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I like the way that they got a lot of variety in terms of what they were running for Cat, but especially in out of that low block, like you said, deep in the post, man. Durant, look, he's a good shot blocker and all that, and Tobias will certainly have his advantages as a small defender sometimes if Towns doesn't want to work. But in Game 3, he was a demon. He was possessed out there, and he got the 30 points for it. Like, there's spots where you can pick this Pistons defense apart, and I thought the Knicks did a good job of doing that in Game 3.
Yeah, definitely. And then let's just talk through the last two aspects for Cat. The first is the trailing three. You saw him get in this spot a lot more this game, which was incredible to see, right? And this is another thing we've talked about is just you can get this matchup with Durant on Cat, even when the Pistons aren't playing this defensive alignment, by just pushing the pace, right? Because Cat's guarding Durant on the opposite side, if you push the pace, you can get them to play this this alignment, which is what you're seeing here. Again, Durant has no chance in this point, right? Like if he wants to close out hard, Cat's a great driver in this position. He's too fast for Durant. If he wants to close out short, Cat's just going to shoot this, right? There's just almost nothing you can do at this point. So I like that aspect, pushing the pace a little, getting Cat in this trailer 3 situation. And then lastly, just a pick and roll with Brunson, especially when Schroeder's on Brunson and Tobias is on Cat. Specifically in this situation, the reason you go away from the Cat Brunson pick and roll is because you're worried that it's an immediately switchable defense. Like even if this was a Sar and Tobias, I can argue, yes, you don't want to run it because that's an auto switch, right? This is not an auto switch. Schroeder and Tobias is not an auto switch because the Pistons do not want Schroeder on Cat.
Yeah.
So if Schroeder is guarding Brunson, you run this because you're forcing Tobias and Schroeder to make a mistake here. Like they don't have a designated, oh, let's trap, oh, let's switch. There's nothing you can run here that makes this an auto decision, which is why, like, if they're going to switch this is automatically give it a Cat, right? And this is now Cat on Schroeder. This is the best mismatch you're getting in this game, right? So as long as Schroeder's on Brunson, if Tobias is on Cat, I want to see this run a lot more. Even if it's a Sar, I want to see it run just because these are two great offensive players again. But yeah, specifically with Schroeder on Brunson, it has to be run a lot more. And this is they're doing something different here. They're going to send 2 to Brunson here as opposed to switching. And this is the one thing that I still need to see, or I still want to see from the Knicks, is we haven't really seen the Cat pop. There are so many opportunities for this. If Durant's ever on Cat, the pop, again, is going to be open every single time. We discussed it with Coach where Durant likes to sink. All their centers like to sink. Durant has obviously been on Cat a lot less this series than in the regular season. But still, you've had possessions where that's happened. And we haven't really seen the Knicks go to this element of the pick and pop yet. So I'm curious if we see it. I don't necessarily know that they need to see it, just with the way the offense is humming at the way it worked in Game 3.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'm definitely keeping an eye on, just because like it's such a powerful weapon, and like it's probably going to be open a lot in certain situations. So I'm just curious to see whether the Knicks get to that.
Now, the way it ended right there, you did see Cat sink in like he did in Game 1 where they had that I don't remember if it was Game 1, but there's been examples where, you know, he should be staying spaced and he's still diving to the basket. So again, like, is that Brunson not with the vision, or is that Cat also kind of compounding the effort by not staying spaced?
I don't know where it's where the origination of it's happening from. I don't think Brunson's necessarily looking for it, but I also don't think Cat's necessarily like looking for it either. Nor is Tibbs drawing it up like that, right?
Yeah.
So like I think like all of them need to be a little bit more conscious that that's open in specific situations. But like if they're gonna switch and Cat's gonna get a small defender, yeah, go down the post. Like use the pick and roll to get position in the post. I think that's what Cat's been used to, is why he kind of sinks. A lot of times when he has that small defender on him, like throughout the second half of the season, well, if you're gonna set a Cat screen and they're gonna switch, then just walk the defender down the post, right? And I think maybe that's kind of like ingrained a little in his head, like, oh, when I screen, I'm just gonna go down the post, is why he doesn't stay high. But you're not going to see that in this series. In this series, you're going to be open with the pop. So just something to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, something to keep an eye out on indeed, man. If anybody from the Garden is watching, because Billy, they do watch, man. So shout out to the coaching staff. You know, shout out to my guy Brock Holler. He definitely watched. If anybody's watching, please send this to Tibbs before the 1 o'clock tip-off, man. Tell him we need more pop action between Captain Clutch and the Big Bodega, man. Absolutely. Great work, man. What do you think in Game 4? What's the key adjustment here by the Pistons that the Knicks should be on guard for? What are you thinking about?
I don't know if the Pistons have that much they actually can do if the Knicks play like this. Again, I actually think that Cade will be looking to shoot that a little bit more and then force OG to actually not go under. Because then if you can force OG to make a decision at that guard screen, then that's when Cade has a lot of power going downhill, attacking, and just having a lot of room to attack. But I think that that's going to be something that Cade's on the lookout for.
Yeah, good stuff there, man. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hey, if anybody has questions for Bailey before we wrap, go ahead and throw it in the chat. My franchise channel members will definitely go to you guys first. Or if you want to hit us on the KFTV Discord, you guys can do that quickly. We got over 300 people in the chat. Shout out to Ron Skills. Welcome to the franchise channel memberships. Son from Brooklyn in here, Thomas Donnery. Salute to you guys. Flow174, I see you. You wonder, he was on the replay gang earlier. Shout out to Flo, Russell Whiskey, salute, Pistol Pete. All right. Yeah, man, if you guys have questions for Bailey, go ahead and throw it in the chat, or you can hit us up on the KFTV Discord. 1 o'clock game tomorrow. Make sure you guys are getting your watch party tickets. KFTVWatch.com. And also, I want to shout out one of our sponsors of today's show. Shout out to our friends over at Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, man. With over $25 billion recovered for over 500,000 clients, Morgan & Morgan has a proven track record of fighting to get you full and fair compensation. For over 35 years, Morgan & Morgan has been fighting for the people just like you and I. They have over 100 offices and more than 1,000 lawyers nationwide. So when hiring Morgan & Morgan, it's like hiring an army that has your back. For example, in Florida, a client received $12 million after the insurance company's best offer was $350K. In Pennsylvania, a client was awarded $26 million, a staggering 40 times the insurance company's original offer of $650K. All our law firms are not the same, and that's why our friends at Morgan & Morgan are fighting for you. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/KFTV or dial pound law, which is pound 529 from your cell phone. So that's forthepeople.com/KFTV or pound law, pound 529 from your cell phone. And most importantly, their fee is free unless you win. So shout out to our people at Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring today's show. Okay, do we have any people in the... Let's see. So James says, I DM'd you on your IG. Okay, James, let me see. He says he DM'd. Okay. Who else? So your text getting handed out all over the place. Denver Clippers. Okay, Denver and Clippers playing right now? What's the score there? I didn't know. I know Memphis and the Thunder were playing. So Denver, let's see what the score of the Denver game is right now. We got...
Nice. Thunder's sweet. Oh, it's close. 50-48.
50-48 at the half. Okay. Cleveland packed up Miami 124-87. Oof.
Yeah, that's tough.
Wow, Grizzlies made it tough. The Grizzlies made it tough, man. They had the Thunder by 30 points and lose this game by 2 without Ja. So that's interesting. And then you got Golden State and Houston tonight. Son from Brooklyn's question: How can Deuce and Campaign be more of a scoring threat off the bench? What do you think?
I think
bench has been kind of lackluster.
Deuce specifically, just a lot of like off-ball actions to kind of get him going on just curling, getting a clean shot off. It's the same thing with Landry Shamet. I think those two specifically are the best off-ball like movement shooters that could get up high value.
Yeah.
I think like that's going to be really, really critical if we beat the Pistons playing against the Celtics.
Yeah.
I think those things really have to be established.
Everybody's got to be splashing threes. You get to the Celtics. Everybody's got to be able to let it fly. So you need Deuce to get that back. You need Shamet to get it. If Payne can get it, Payne can get you flip of a coin. Payne can get you a couple. And he did get one in game 3. He did have a corner 3 in game 3. So hopefully, but like you said, especially guys like Deuce and Shamet who need those screens to help them get that separation, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
James Woodfield says Deuce rushing his shot. James, did you say you sent the DM on IG? Let me check. Did you send a question on IG, James? Let's see. Okay. No, I don't think so. Okay. All right. Well, salute to you, James, either way, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. And that's that. We got Rockets and Golden State on tonight at 8:30. Okay, let's see. Militant says, Bailey, in your opinion, who is the best point of attack defender or on a big guard such as Cade or ball handling tall wing like Tatum?
On the Knicks?
I don't know if he's saying on the Knicks, but maybe on the Knicks, and then who else you like in the NBA?
I mean, in OG is definitely like the best. And especially when it comes to Tatum, it goes back to what we were talking about with like, they're really good at getting Cat detached from before they go set a screen. And OG's really good at applying pressure to force Tatum or Cade one way. Mikhail, not so much. Mikhail likes to play the point of the screen flat. He won't really shade you either way. He'll play flat. And then the way he gets to your screens when he's really locked in is he gets skinny. And he'll like go in front of the screen. And then like, because he's so lanky and able to maneuver like that, he'll get around screens like that. That's great, but when you have a team that's good at flipping the screen, it's pretty tough to have Cat out of position. Then you have an immediate mismatch attacking Cat.
That's good points. Daniel Post your franchise channel member says, Bailey, what up? How do you like Josh being more on the ball in half-court sets? I saw a good bit of him with the ball at the top of the key.
If you've been following any of my play-by-play YouTube films before I came on Court Vision, that's been like the one thing I've always wanted more of. I think this offense works really well theoretically with Josh handling the ball because it eliminates how far off him you can drop and you can like help off. He's also, especially in the first half of the season, he was really good at facilitating playmaking and not making bad decisions. His assist to turnover was great. He was great passing out of drives. He was great finishing, like top finisher at the rim. And all those things combined just led me to believe that if you put the ball in Josh's hands, if you let him create, you're letting Josh create with Brunson, Cat, Mikhail, OG as the other 4 guys. Yeah. That's crazy. And the numbers actually back that up a little. I hadn't looked in a while, but like when I was making this point, his pick and roll efficiency was top in the NBA. And it's not necessarily that he's one of the best pick and roll players, but he's, again, playing with Cat, Brunson, Mikhail, OG as the other 4 guys, which creates a lot of space for him to operate. Yeah. We haven't really seen them lean into that much. I also like Josh playing out of like the elbow where they threw him the ball and let him create from there. That's probably more of what we could see in the playoffs. But I was always curious, what if you just gave it to Josh and let him run point?
Let him
see how that goes.
Yeah. And good stuff there. Who else we got? Anybody else in the chat? Anyone else? Some from Brooklyn. Okay, we got that. Okay. All right, man. Well, listen, man. Great work. Let's go Knicks. Let's get this one in game 4. And let's get back to it. You know, maybe hopefully they wrap the series up soon, but let's give it a couple of games. Get back to the video session, man. But 100%, great job on this one. Let the people know where they can find you, man.
Yeah, just on Twitter, BaileyLoud1. I think it's in the video.
Yep.
But almost all my stuff's there.
Yep, there we go. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys are following Bailey on Twitter as well. And salute to another one of our sponsors of tonight, man. Shout out to LinkedIn. For those of you that run a small and medium-sized business, man, use LinkedIn Jobs to find your next talent. We've done so here at KnicksFanTV. They offer an intuitive platform, very easy to use, and you're able to find those qualified candidates that you need. So post your job on for free at linkedin.com/KFTV. That's linkedin.com/KFTV to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Salute to the replay gang. Salute to our franchise channel members. Let's go Knicks. We'll see you guys on Sunday for Game 4, play-by-play with CK2K, and then we will be live for post-game live, highlights, analysis, and your calls. Thanks again, everybody. Enjoy the Saturday. We out of here. Peace.